Huge new fights, stunning starships, wonderful musical themes. Star Trek Picard Season 3 looks like it's got it all. We are going to run down really quickly with what we know so far, and it's actually quite a bit. You want to go to the original article by our author Clive Burrell to have a look at this as well. In the meantime, I am Sean Ferry for Trek Culture, and here is Star Trek Picard, everything we know about Season 3. Number 11, Starships. So the big starship of the third season of Star Trek Picard is of course going to be the USS Titan A. So this is going to be the follow-on from the Luna-class Titan that Captain Riker took control of at the very end of Star Trek Nemesis, although of course it only appeared on screen for the first time in Star Trek Lower Decks. This is a Neo-Constitution class ship, and when it was initially revealed in the teaser, a few eyebrows were raised because of its somewhat unique design. But actually, it's very, very evocative of the design that Bill Krause did a couple of years ago. That was used as a reference model for this style of ship, and I think as time has gone on, a lot of people have kind of warmed to it, particularly with the bigger reveals in subsequent trailers as well. I have to say, personally, when I first saw it, I was a bit like, okay, that's a choice. That was just seeing it, you know, dead on. Seeing it from the above, from the side and everything, I'm just like, yeah, no, do you know what, I'm sold. I'm sold. I have to say, I am a Titan fan, I've got to say it. We're also getting the Enterprise F, the Odyssey class ship, and I am so excited because it's just always great, first of all, to see an Enterprise on screen. I thank you very much. Also, because we know as well that the Enterprise E is not going to feature in Season 3. Now, that has been absolutely set in stone by Terry Matalas before this, because there are things that they are doing, there are things that will remain a surprise, and things that we know they're definitely not doing. For example, we ain't got no Sela. Number 10, is it the end? This is being touted as the final season of Star Trek Picard. So in a way, I could give a really short answer to this and be like, yes. Okay, next point. But there have been various interviews and tidbits dropped throughout the last couple of months that suggests that actually, this might not be the end of the road. If you check out the most recent issue of SFX magazine, there are interviews with Terry Matalas, Jonathan Frakes, and Gates McFadden, all of whom speak toward the possibility that this may not be the end for several of these characters. This goes in line with something that Terry Matalas has said previously, that not every character going into Season 3 will be safe. But on the flip side of that, it's not like there's a big culling going to happen, and that by the end of the last episode it's going to be like, well, no one's left alive from the next generation, so there can't be another series. Terry Matalas has also said in the past that he would like to continue exploring this period of Star Trek history. Now, we have Lower Decks as in 2381-82, we've got Star Trek Prodigy has got 2383, and then you jump forward to Picard, which is 2401. I would also like to see that, I won't lie. It would be lovely to see other series exploring this time period. What's going on with DS9? What's going on with the crew of Voyager? Is this the end? I don't think so. Number 9, family ties. We know that the family of the Enterprise crew, if you will, this family is reassembling for this season. Now, if you just base it on the trailers, you've got Picard, you've got Riker, you've got Troy, you've got Crusher, you've got Worf, you've got Geordi, and also, I guess you could say, you've got Lore. Brent Spiner. Brent Spiner's back. Now, it's also a slightly larger family affair as well, because two of Geordi's daughters, Sydney and Alandra LaForge, will be appearing this season as well. Alandra, in fact, being played by Mika Burton, LeVar Burton's real-life daughter. Each of the members of the TNG crew have extended families. We've already seen Will Wheaton appear at the end of Season 2 of Star Trek Picard. We know that Alexander Roshenko is out there. We've met Kestra Riker already. So, there are people still left to bring into the fold. Frankly, I think this could be the beginning of the next generation. but we will have to see. Number 8, classic antagonists. Professor James Moriarty, as played by Daniel Davis, was revealed in the last trailer that was released, and I think the internet sort of lost its shit. No one saw Moriarty returning. Not because no one wanted him, just nobody thought they were going to go down that road. I think a lot of us were fairly certain that Moriarty had kind of gone boom when the Enterprise D was destroyed in Star Trek Generations. That seems to not have been the case. What is his plan? What's he doing? All we see is cocking a gun, which is, you know, doesn't generally lead to good things. We also see in again, that wonderful last trailer, we were a bit spoiled, the return of Lore. Lore, I mean, this goes back to season 1 of The Next Generation, but if you look at Star Trek Nemesis for a second, we had the introduction of B4, and B4 returned-ish in the episode Remembrance, the opening episode of Star Trek Picard. So basically, we know what happened to B4. He's been disassembled. We'd heard that Lore had been disassembled, so what on earth is Lore doing put back together in Picard Season 3? Now, the idea that Lore has aged, no problem, he's evil, he probably skinned someone. That itself is not shocking. But how? How is the big question. And we are so excited to see just in what way these two characters are going to be woven into the tapestry of this series. Number 7, new antagonists. Enter Amanda Plummer as Vadic. So Amanda Plummer, daughter of the late great Christopher Plummer, who of course played General Chang in Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country, will be appearing in Star Trek Picard's 3rd season as Vadic. We know next to nothing about this character so far. We know that she commands the Shrike, who seems to be a fairly, I don't want to be chased by that starship. We also know that she has a lot of hair gel, because that is quite a slick hairdo, isn't it? And is quite scarred. Is this something to do with Picard? She says she's going to peck and jab and, basically be a bit unpleasant to Jean-Luc and his friends. We can only assume that Vadic's motivations are going to tie in with the reasons Lore and Moriarty are returning to this season. But as it stands, all we know is Vadic looks like she is going to be a massive pain in the hole for the crew of the Enterprise D. And if she kills anyone, I'm going to be very sad. I don't want to bring people back to kill them. I don't want to pull a nemesis on them. Number 6, it's been some time. So obviously, 20 years have passed since Star Trek Nemesis was released. And while we've gotten the return of Picard, we've gotten the return of the Rikers, what's Crusher been up to? What's Worf been up to? What's Geordi been up to? Some of those questions are being answered already. So we know, for example, that Geordi was in charge of the Romulan relief effort. We know he now holds the rank of Commodore. Worf, after DS9, was sent to be the ambassador to Kronos of the Klingon of the Federation ambassador to Kronos. There, say that 10 times fast. And somehow in the middle has adopted a pacifist lifestyle, which is quite opposite from the Worf we knew. But the biggest mystery of all has been Dr. Crusher. What has Beverly been up to in the last 20 years? Now, the last we saw her, she was going off to head Starfleet Medical, and nothing. She's been conspicuously absent from the story of Picard over the last 2 seasons. We had the appearance from Data, but Data has the handy excuse of being dead. We've seen Riker and Troy. We got name drops for Geordi, things like that. So where the heck has Crusher been? Now, the trailers do reveal that she is on her own ship. She's, seems quite capable of, and, we know as well from interviews with Gates McFadden that this is probably Beverly's biggest story in all of her time in Star Trek. So I think the mystery of where she's been for the last 2 decades is at least going to be our catalyst for this season, if not one of the main mysteries as we go forward. Number 5, BEV'S big secret. Following on from the previous point, you have to wonder, what is it that could have kept her away for so long? Jean-Luc, I have something to tell you. Go on. Is this it? Is this the big reveal that Wesley Crusher was in fact never Jack Crusher's son at all, and was in fact always Jean-Luc's? Right, that's a little bit unlikely. I'm not gonna lie. Jean-Luc has always been father figure. I don't think they're gonna go down the road that he's the actual dad of Wesley. Plus, you would imagine at some point that would have come up, like when they could read each other's thoughts in the episode Attached, Season 7 of The Next Generation. What it looks like, based on the bits that have been dropped here and there, and again, I implore you, have a look at that SFX magazine because there is a very fascinating interview with Gates McFadden. It looks like Bev is going to be possibly the main supporting player this season. You know, we have our Picard is obviously our lead. I can hardly imagine Riker is going to be in a fleeting appearance. You know, everyone's going to get a chunky role, but I think it's going to really focus on Dr. Crusher. What's going on? It looks like she's being hunted by Vadic in the trailers. I might be way off base, but it looks like she's being hunted down. So what has caused this? And I would imagine that there is a reason for that, because she's Beverly. Who wants to hunt down Beverly? She's lovely, like. Number 4, Worf factor. The former Federation ambassador to Kronos, say it 10 times fast, he's done up in quite battle armor-esque uniform, wielding the new Kurleth sword designed by Dan Curry, and yet he is preaching a pacifist lifestyle. So what has happened to Worf in 2 decades? Well, we're not sure what's happened in the last 2 decades. Let's have a look what happened before Worf disappeared off our screens. Before Star Trek Insurrection even released, we had the loss of Jadzia Dax. With the death of his wife in the midst of the Dominion War, you know, Worf suffered the kind of loss that you would never wish on your worst enemy. He then went back to service for a year, and there was that whole very confusing year with Ezri Dax and how are we going to figure this out? Maybe we are together and we aren't together, and that's going to mess up anyone's head, okay? Off away he goes to Kronos, and somewhere along the way, he returns to service because, look at him in Star Trek Nemesis. So he's there, he's in full Starfleet uniform. He's a fully serving Starfleet officer. Now, it is not unimaginable that an ambassador could don a Starfleet uniform. I'm sure stranger things have happened. It looks for at least for a while he returned to Starfleet duty. If he is no longer a Starfleet officer, based on the trailers for Picard's 3rd season, what has happened along the way? Has he experienced more loss, which has encouraged this pacifist lifestyle? If so, did someone finally go for Alexander? If so, why? What is it that has brought Worf to, it seems as if he has a relationship with Raffi in some way. They seem to be like engaged in a training exercise. It remains to be seen exactly how they know each other, but Worf, what's going on, buddy? Are you all right? Number 3, who is in the chair? Whoever is the captain of the USS Titan A remains a very tight-lipped secret at this point. So we know that 7 of 9 is going to be the first officer of the Titan, okay. Picard is there, what seems to be, you know, a ceremonial role. That's what I'm getting as that. This has all of the feelings of Enterprise B maiden voyage about it. Riker's hardly re-entered service, or at least not full-time. He's on reserve, as we were shown in the finale of Star Trek Picard's 1st season. He remains in reserve, can be activated if needs be, but hardly coming back full-time. So, who's the captain of the Titan? I can now exclusively reveal that I am, in fact, the captain of the Titan. Was I not supposed to say that? I can exclusively reveal that there is no confirmation as of yet who the captain of the Titan is. There are rumors, and they remain rumors at this point, that a familiar face will be appearing on board the Titan. If you look at between the lines, some of the posts that Terry Matalas has put out there, particularly about returning people from franchises he worked on before. Specifically, if you haven't seen it, watch 12 Monkeys. It took me ages to watch it. Once I got around to it, it's bloody brilliant. The actor Todd Stashwick, there's been a bit of chatter about him and about how he may be appearing in this season. Now, if that's the case. He has not appeared in any of the trailers to date. We do have one more trailer coming on the 29th of January, so depending on when this releases. But yeah, so there is a possibility that that lovely man might be in the season. He might not be at all. It remains to be seen. But as it stands right now, the Titan is captainless. I mean, I'll do it. Number 2, it's a tease. Everything that we've seen so far regarding Season 3 of Picard has teased the crap out of us without giving us anything to grab onto. I mean, do you know what the story is for Season 3? I don't. I do know that Picard's in it, Lore is in it, flipping Moriarty is in it. We don't actually know yet what the context is, what is going to bring all of this crew back together. Little bits that we've seen online, we know, for example, that there's going to be a nod to Tasha, but it doesn't look like Denise Crosby will be appearing in the season. So whether this is a nod and a tease or a portrait or maybe that little hologram that Data had in his desk, we don't know. We do know that because I can hear it being shouted somewhere, yes, we know Seela's not in it. That Seela's not in this season. So we don't really know. One thing that I think Terminus has been quite upfront about is that there won't be any Dr. Pulaski. Because this has been queried for a while now, because technically, with Will Wheaton having returned in Season 2, and with the nod to Tasha, the only other main actor to not return would then be Diana Muldaur. Now, I think that one can be fairly put to bed because she said that, when she was finished with Star Trek, she was finished with Star Trek. She didn't have an amazing time on Season 2 of The Next Generation, and yeah, right, fair enough. Fair enough. We have all of these amazing images of these people returning. We have some gorgeous hints of music. I'm really looking forward to the score from Stephen Barton coming up. Consider me teased. Consider me teased. I want to know where it's going. I want to know what it's in relation to. And, just give the season. Just give the season, will you? Come on, February 16th. Number 1, you're the voice. The reveal recently online was that though it is a Starfleet ship front and center in the form of the USS Titan A, the main computer voice will not feature the vocal stylings of Majel Barrett. Before she died, Majel Barrett did effectively record everything that you would ever need to make your own Alexa, your own Siri, your own Google Home. So, great. This has not been utilized going into Picard Season 3, and that has led to some raised eyebrows because some people ask, well, what then was the point of her doing that? And then, is this an ignoring of canon and an ignoring of legacy? I counter with this. Discovery has already used Juliana Grossman as the voice of the computer for the first season, and then after their encounter with the Sphere, and particularly the short Trek episode Calypso, we had Annabelle Wallace takes over as the voice of Zora. This will not be the first series not to feature Majel Barrett as the voice of the computer. You never know. There could be any kind of nod or a hint or whatever. We just know that she's not the main voice of the computer. I don't think this is massively shocking. For me personally, I think that we've done that. And by that I mean, in the J.J. Abrams films, while she did record dialogue for 2009, she hadn't recorded dialogue for Into Darkness or Beyond. So we then had to deal with the fact that we didn't have Majel Barrett to do that. And, same on Star Trek Lower Decks, we have a different voice. Star Trek Prodigy, of course, we have Bonnie Gordon. I have seen the discussions online about the lack of Majel Barrett. For me personally, I get it. I love hearing her voice, but this is not the first series to do that. So for me, personally, Sean Ferrick does not mind the fact that it's not Majel Barrett's voice. And if it bothers and upsets you, that's fine. That is right. I'm not gonna say you're wrong. That's everything we've got so far, folks. Let us know in the comments below. First of all, if you reckon we missed anything, if there's anything you've heard that we should know, let me know. You can get in touch with us on Twitter at Trek Culture. You can get us on Instagram at Trek Culture YT. I'm at Sean Ferrick on Twitter, which is where I spend most of my time. Folks, until I see you again, make sure you live long and prosper. Make sure that you have a wonderful weekend. If you're going to watch the sports ball, enjoy the sports ball. To our friends in Ukraine, stay strong. You are amazing. You are inspiring. Everyone, have a good one. Make it so.